Welcome to You and I podcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jew.
And today we're discussing how things have changed or gotten better over time in our marriage. So we both just celebrated year 35 around the sun. We're both a week apart. We've been together for 11 years. Coming up on 11 years?
We've been married for 11 years. We've been together 13 years.
So we're coming up on 12?
We're coming up on 11.
Oh, so we ain't been married 11 years then.
Not
We've been
yet. Married 10
almost
years.
11
It'll
years.
be 11 years and on April 28th.
April 28th. Anyway, so so we're gonna be discussing basically things that have changed. I kind of came up with this topic because obviously, as you get older, you know things change and you change.
Yeah.
So how would you look at our marriage like before when we first got married and now? Like what do you think the biggest differences are?
I would say free time is one of the biggest things. When you have children, it changes the dynamic of your marriage and your relationship. But it's in a good way. It's not a bad thing. It's just like when we first were married, I could play video games every night. Or we could go to the movies midweek.
Yeah, randomly.
We could go on random dates because we don't have to have somebody to watch the kids. So I think it's just like those small things end up turning into big things. Like when you have children, I think that's one of the biggest dynamics I would say in the marriage. Yeah. Like I said, children are a blessing, but you don't have as much free time, like me time. It's like
I would say, just to like piggyback off of what you said, I remember when we first had EJ. He was so jealous. Like he was like in his feelings. I really feel like you were in your feelings because I think as women, when we're pregnant, like we kind of feel the change happening as it's happening, and it's different for us. Like we already are like preparing 9 months to have a baby, and our bodies change first, right? So I think we're more in a mental headspace where we're ready.
Yeah.
But I don't think you were ready until he came. I don't even think he was ready when he came. Like, not saying he's not a good father, but I don't think you were ready for the change that was going to happen.
I think you can't like be fully prepared as a man or a woman for a child when they first come. Like, I really feel like the biggest thing was the attention. You don't get as much attention because the baby is breastfeeding. The baby is always with you. So as a man, you used to being like, I'm having that time with you. And now the child is like taking first priority because the baby got to eat when they're ready, especially when they're very small. Like they take precedence. They pretty much run the whole house. Like if you're on the video game and the baby needs the diaper changed, unless you want your baby to have a diaper rash, you're going to have to like, so everything is like on their time.
It should change
and
when
it
you have
shifts.
kids.
And I think that was the biggest issue with me is like, I don't know if it was jealousy. I think it was more just like, it was the time. Like I was talking about, like I couldn't have access to you anytime I wanted.
Prior to, right. So I definitely think that has children change marriage, period. Like you are definitely it's not going to be the same, which is why I think the best practice is to wait a little bit to have kids before, when you get married, like wait a little bit. Enjoy each other's company, because once you have a kid, it definitely changes the dynamic. And I think that's where, other than finances, I think a lot of people's biggest issues in their marriage, if you're being 100% honest, and I don't think a lot of people talk about it enough, is children.
Yes.
Like having children. I think a lot of people finances are a big deal. Yeah. But I think kids are like the number one interrupter in your marriage, period. So for me, what was it again? What has changed over time? I definitely think that in our marriage, I have become more accepting of who you are as a person.
I can see that.
Because, when you first get married, especially because we didn't live together prior to, there were things that he did that just aggravated me. Like, and I'm sure that there were things that I know there were things that you had to adjust to.
Yes.
He's monk and I'm more of like a disorganized, chaotic person. Like I have not.
When they say opposites attract.
Like I'm not dirty.
She's not dirty.
Disclaimer.
I don't mess with dirty people.
I'm not dirty, but I'm not as organized as he is. But some of the things that I had to adjust to, I think I've accepted you more, like for who you are. Like you are you, and you're not me. Because I think at the beginning of any kind of relationship, you kind of expect the person to like respond the way you would, or react to situations the way you would react, and it's just like, he's not me, I'm not him, but that's on purpose. And I had to get to the realization that there's just some things about you that are not going to change, and you have to be okay with that. Like, I had to be okay with that.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect thing about marriage is like, it's two unperfect people coming together and two different people coming together. And I think, as you were saying, it's like, it's things that you did that I had to adjust to. And I think that's the beauty in loving somebody and in marriage, when you two becomes one.
Yeah.
It's like accepting those things, but I think as you get older, you get wiser too. So a lot of the things that may have bothered me before, it's like, is that really a big deal? And I think that as we were talking about children, they prepare you for like, to get used to like accepting things too.
Yeah.
Because before, like I said, when you're single or when you're first with your significant other, it's like everything is about me. I can do this. I can go whenever I get ready. And then when children come, it's like you can't just get up and travel because they're in school or you can't just do things to spare the moment. And I feel like, I thought you were going to talk about when we first had a baby, like trying to get out the door, how long it takes to like get ready. Like, because sometimes you get ready when it's just us two, we just like, boom. We could just, somebody say, y'all want to come out to dinner? Boom. But when you have a child,
boy, it changes.
You gotta get them ready.
You gotta get them ready. You gotta
pack
snacks.
They poop on themselves. They poop out their clothes.
Oh my gosh, so many times. It's funny because it's a movie. What's that movie where the
Neighbors? I think
Neighbors.
Neighbors.
That movie. If you've never seen Neighbors, there's a scene where the husband and wife had a baby. And they were like always going out with their friends prior to. So I guess they got invited to like a concert or something. And they're like, we're coming. So they're like on the way to the concert. And they packing all this stuff in the baby bag. They keep going back, grabbing this. I think they even grabbed a packing plate. They had grabbed so much stuff, and by the time it was like time for them to go, they were exhausted. And they were like, we not even going. Yeah. So it was funny because definitely that. Like, what I was going to say, when you said the two become one, I think over time, what changes, you become more like your partner.
You do.
I really feel like a lot of his qualities, excuse me, a lot of your qualities, I feel like I have adapted in.
No.
Okay, so.
You got some good qualities.
For example, let me think of something. Like, okay, so he's more introverted than I am. I'm extroverted, like. I was like the going out type of person, like living life just in the streets. He's a homebody. So I think over time, I have become more of like a homebody, more than I was prior to us being together. What's something that you think? Yeah. How have I rubbed off on you?
I think you rubbed off on me just to like try new things because my wife's very adventurous. So if you are not like the person, and I'm not the most like, I would say I will step out and do things, but I had to kind of be pushed. And I think my wife definitely pushed me to do different things and to like, hey, let's try this. Let's go horseback riding, or let's do this. And my wife's very adventurous. So I think that's the way she rubbed off on me. And then I think just in general, just the things that we do.
I think confidence. Like, I feel like I think I'm a confident person. I don't think you're not a confident person, but I think prior to, I think you questioned everything. And there's nothing wrong with being questioning everything, but sometimes I feel like it was kind of hard for you to just go with the flow when it was something, kind of like what you're saying, when it was something you were not used to. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's why I say I think it was more of this, like, you give me the confidence, like, just try this new thing.
Try everything.
Just try something new. So I don't think that it was like a lack of confidence. I think it was just more that you pulled me on my shell. Yeah. As they say, when we get with somebody that's outgoing, it kind of brings it out of you. If you're a very introverted person, you're like, well, let's go out and try this new restaurant, or let's go this, instead of the routine, mundane, like, let's go to our favorite spot. Let's try a new spot.
Let's try something different.
When we used to go out to like a restaurant, it's usually my wife that's like, well, let's try this new spot that I found out about. It's rare that I'm like,
hey, I found a new
Yeah,
restaurant.
I like to kind of go
You
to
like
my
to go to
spots,
the
the same spots. So I think that's a way that you kind of rubbed off on me, is just being a little bit more adventurous and just trying new things, because that's what you like to do.
It's for the moment.
Yeah,
It's for the moment.
Yeah.
Like, it's harder to do that when you have kids, but like even when you have kids, sometimes you can just get so into this like routine of like, okay, we wake up, we do this, it's Monday, you have your routine. But sometimes, okay, like let's go somewhere on grill today. Like, let's just be random and do something, different to shake it up a little bit.
And I'll say another thing is just being like assertive. Because I'm not the most assertive person, and my wife, you definitely have rubbed off on me. And like, but what's crazy is you're assertive, but sometimes it's like I have to tell you to be assertive in certain situations.
Yeah.
So me and my wife both are not like, we don't necessarily enjoy conflict.
We don't enjoy conflict, but I'm the type of person where it's kind of like I've gotten to this place where I don't let other things bother me unless it directly affects my day to day. Like at work, like people can say what they want to say, do what they want to do. That's fine. That's your business. But whenever your actions like directly affect me, that's when I'm like, okay, I gotta handle this because it's affecting me now. So I don't like conflict. He doesn't really like conflict either. But I think both of us have gotten better at saying no.
Yeah.
I think at the beginning we were kind of like whatever like family wanted to do or whatever friends' agendas, they had their own agenda. It was like we were like, okay, let's go. Even to the expense of like this is not really something we want to do.
Yeah.
Like we just want to
hang out with the family.
Right, we want to do us. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying we want to hang out with the family, but it might not be in like, they may not be going to a restaurant we want to go to.
Yeah.
Or they may not be doing an activity we necessarily want to do, but we want to hang out with the family. So it's like,
right.
Okay, well, we're going to go hang out. No pressure, but we just felt like, hey, let's go hang out. Or maybe we didn't have the money to do it at the time, and we're just like, well, everybody else is going, so let's just put on the credit card, or let's just do that.
We come a long way with like keeping up with the Joneses, as they say. Like that was, I think, when you first get married, you gotta really like any relationship though. I really feel like you gotta stay in your own lane.
Yeah. And
like people might be getting up and going here and there, but if you know you ain't got it like that, or you can't do that at the moment, it's no shame into telling somebody, nah, not this time, we'll pass. And it's okay. Like it is what it is. Like you said, it's no pressure. Like I feel like before we were kind of like we felt maybe a little bit of pressure to like okay.
We've gotten better, and that falls under finances. Like we said, where we have grown, I would say the finances.
Absolutely.
Because when we first were married, it was like we looked at our finances, but we didn't like be strategic about certain things. Like we first bought our first dog, it was like we were not ready for everything that it was going to entail. Like yes, and it was me that I wanted a dog, but I think that the problem was when you're young, it's just like our children wanted a dog right now. You do impulsive things, and you're not like looking down the road of like this dog's gonna need to go to the vet. This dog is gonna need a special type of food. Maybe not this dog's gonna need whatever the additional things that time. You're right. So it's just the other things, and I feel like that's something we gotten a lot better at. It's like as you get older, you gain that wisdom. You get wiser, and you make wiser decisions financially and just decisions in general. You make better decisions. So
absolutely. For me, I think that something that I feel like has gotten better for me is just like the ability to just be at peace in chaotic situations at times. Like, life gets hectic with your kids, life gets hectic with work.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna add to like the kids help a lot of different mechanisms because kids take you through a lot of stuff you be like, okay. So I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're fine.
But yeah, that's where I thought you were going when you were about to say like, it just seemed like everything going back to the kids.
Yeah.
Like kids prepare you for
gotta be able
a lot.
to like find moments that for your own sanity. Like for me, I love to read. So there'll be times where I'm reading and I'm just in my own zone, or sometimes I might just light a candle or go out on the patio and just be sitting by myself, just finding moments of peace and in the middle of everything else that's going on. So I definitely think that that's gotten better.
Yeah, I'll say one other thing that I feel like has gotten better is just like being okay with like all the tasks not getting done. 'Cause, you know, like I'm a stickler for like this.
You're still working on that.
I'm still working on that, but I feel like that's one of the things that
has rubbed off, I think.
Yeah, it's rubbed off, but I think that was one of the main things because I'm so organized. I feel like when you have children and they have toys everywhere and they play 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And if you want your house looking clean, 24 hours a day, that's not
realistic
going
all
to
the
line
time.
up. That ain't gonna line up.
Right,
So,
and I think he's a busybody, so like he's always moving, and that's one thing I think that still drives me crazy about you. I think you've gotten like a smidget better, but he does not sit down. Like, I'm not exaggerating. Like, I have to tell him, come sit down. And it's not even that our house is like a mess. It's just like I feel like you feel like everything, like you said, has to be done. And it has to be like done now. Like, and I've tried my best to be like, listen, first of all, make them kids clean up. Let's talk about that. First of all, I don't know who this for. Make them kids clean up their own mess. Like, especially as your kids get older, they can start handling more responsibility. I think that can be challenging because our kids grow up in front of our eyes, right? So like as toddlers and infants, they're so small, there's only but so much that they can actually do. Right. So you get into the habit of like, okay, picking up their toys and this and that. But as your kids get older, you got to readjust and reevaluate. Be like, okay, wait a minute. You can clean up. You can wipe this counter down. You can pick up your toys. You can put your food in the trash when you're done. You can do these things. So one thing I think that I've been trying to help my husband with is like, make them kids be responsible. Make them kids clean up after themselves. Like, stop wearing yourself out cleaning up after these kids. Like, they can clean up their own self. So, yeah. And then everything, it's not always going to get done. It's just not. Like, there's not enough hours in a day. And if it is going to get done, it's going to be done at your own expense to where you're worn out to the point where you don't have nothing left. Because sometimes, you can be ripping and running all day. You ain't sat down. You ain't took a sip of water. You haven't ate nothing. You just doing, going. So I think that's something that, you've gotten better, but you can still work. I think he's getting better.
Yeah,
He's trying.
I'm under construction, y'all.
He's
Y'all
under
pray for me. I'm still under construction. But I'll say one last thing.
Go ahead.
And I feel like intimacy, for me personally, I think that has gotten better as we've gotten older. Just for the mere fact that you become wiser, you become more patient. Like when she talked about me I've always been a gentleman, but when kids come in the picture and the dynamics change, I think that intimacy is one of those things that could be a touchy topic. But I definitely think that it can get better as you get older because you become more patient. You understand and you become more understanding of the other person and what they may be going through. And as you're like in a marriage, it's a give and take. So it's like we both should be 100, pouring in 100, but you have to be understanding of what the other person is going through. Like being a mother, being a teacher, or working a full-time job. The different things that your spouse may be going through, health things. Because as you get older, you may have health issues, and I feel like you change. So you just have to be. I'll say be more understanding. I feel like as I've gotten older, I've become more understanding because, as they say, as you get older and live out life experiences, you become wiser and like, okay, maybe I didn't handle that in the best way that I could have been handled. So I don't know what you feel about that, but I think that's definitely one of the big things that I've gotten better. It's changed, but I've gotten better.
I think just to say, like, to piggyback on what you're saying without like saying too much,
don't say.
Is that is that communication, over time has gotten better, not just with the intimacy conversation, but with your spouse in general, because I now feel like I have a better understanding of how to talk to you in a way that you can perceive what I'm saying. Yeah. Whereas before, I think there was a little bit of a disconnect with I think we've always had communication because we talk about everything. but I think I've gotten better with my approach.
Yeah, both
and
of
I
us
think you have gotten better,
way better
way
When we
better
first
with
got
your
together, I was
approach
just like,
because
yes.
I feel like you was times.
Yeah, but that happens like I said, as you be older, you wise up. Because when you're young, you like get upset about certain things.
You get mad about silly
it's
things.
It's like me. Like I said, but then
selfishness.
Children slow you down because they show you that it's about them. They make it about them. So it's like, as much as you like me, when you see the kids like, mommy, daddy, I want this, I want that, and that's like all day, every day, you become more appreciative and understand more like, okay, this is what my wife or my husband is trying to tell me.
Yeah.
So I feel like that time, as you were talking about before, having the time for each other and just being able to get up and do and move without kids. That's why I feel like everything's pointing back to the kids. Because they're kind of like one of the centers of why things, the dynamic. Like I said, it just changes the whole dynamic. But like I said, I definitely feel like intimacy has gotten better because, like I said, I've become more wise and we learn how to talk to each other about how to express what we're feeling. At that moment and what you need at that moment.
Definitely. Because, man, like, it's crazy how much, like he was saying, and I know we keep talking about the kids, but it's crazy how much children change you. But, you know, like, not just children, marriage, because especially when, like, I feel like our situation is a little bit unique because when we were dating, he was living with his parents, I was living with my parents. So it was not necessarily a household that had to be maintained.
Right.
Like, other than our personal space, like my room, you know, cleaning up my dishes after myself, that's completely different than when you have your own home, your own apartment, and you have to like make sure your whole entire space is tidy and kept up. And, you know, then you have, you know, lunches you're packing for work the next day. It's just different things that get kind of added into the responsibility bucket. I would just say. And then when you have kids, it's even more because you have to take care of two people that can't take care of, or people that can't take care of themselves. So just being able to communicate with you, like, this is everything that's going on a day-to-day basis. And I feel like you have to, I feel like this, like you were saying, like sometimes you can be so like selfish or like one track minded. This is what I want, that you're not even really seeing everything else that's going on around you. Like, hello, like, do you see what's happening around you? And I think I had to get to, because I would get really like upset at that topic. I think at the beginning, like,
we both would though.
Yeah, you would
I
too.
think it was both. Like it was a. That's
like
why
my feelings would get hurt.
We grew together.
My feelings would get hurt, and you would be you would just be in your feelings.
No, my feelings would get hurt too.
Yeah,
it's
your
the same
feelings
thing.
hurt.
In your feelings hurt. The same thing.
Yeah.
So I feel like we both with the intimacy thing has grown because now you don't get in your feelings as much, like or feel disappointed, and I don't feel disappointed.
Yeah.
Because we can talk to each other and say, okay, well, this happened. Okay. How can we make this work together to make it better and not take it personal?
This is what I need. If this is what you need, this is what I need to be able to give you what you need. Like, and that once we had that conversation, like, okay, I know this is what you need. This is why I can't give you what you need right now. So if you want that, then I need you to help me on this side so that I'm not feeling so worn out.
Right.
So that I have the energy to give you that because, that's a whole nother video, but we'll get to that maybe on another day. But anywho, thank y'all for watching. Like, subscribe, and share this content out. We will be putting out content on Mondays. This last Monday we didn't because it was our birthday week. April's a busy month. It's my birthday first. His birthday and my youngest son's birthday is on the same day. Not this week, but the following week, the end of the month will be our anniversary, 11 year, right? 11 year anniversary. Yes. So April is like a busy month for our family. So y'all continue to, watch our content. Comment below, like, how do you think your marriage has changed or your relationship? Maybe you're not married yet, but how has it gotten better or changed over time? What are some of those like moments where you feel like, or was there anything we said in the video that you felt you really connected with?
Yeah.
So
with that being said, I agree with what my wife said, but I'll say this. Marriage is worth it. Yes, it's work, but it's worth it. We are 11 years into it. We've been together 13 years, and it feels like yesterday.
yeah,
We took pictures yesterday at like the same spot that we took our first trip together
I'll probably
as
add
dating.
this to this
So yeah, like life, it's worth it. The marriage is worth it. It's work,
Yeah.
but it's worth it. If you put the work in, you'll see the beauty in it.
yeah.
With that being said, this has been Jew
And Amanda.
coming at you guys. You guys hit the like, share, subscribe. Peace.
Peace.
Wow.